Professor Kevin Parkinson. I am the owner of Vinark Motion Pictures, and I am joined with my best friend in the world, Gregory Moore, videographer extraordinaire. Greg not only shoots some of the highest profile concerts that tour around the Southeast, but his primary location is Charlotte, North Carolina, where he also is a videographer for NASCAR. So, Greg, how are you, man? How is the world of videography treating you?
It's cool, man. Yeah, it's cool. So there's a lot going on after COVID. Stuff's picking back up, so everybody's kind of war of the worlds for the next big gig. But we're just happy to be here and for everybody to be able to come and nobody to get sick. It's great, man. Everything's exciting, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us, man. My semester just ended, and if there's one thing that I always try to drive home with my film students is that in this new digital world, and it's new in the sense of millennials, we're the last generation that saw analog film turn into digital. For the Zennials and everyone after, everything is just always going to be digital until we get to crystal. That's going to be after digital. That's where you're storing memory just on glass. But until we get there, everything is just digital, digital, digital. And the world of digital cinematography is very, very, very closely related to the world of modern videography. For somebody like yourself who has done professional cinematography and also professional videography, are there any nuances that are different? Or would you say, hey, if you're going to learn one thing, might as well you just learn everything because they're pretty much the same tool sets now?
Something that's a lot different now is that this is going to be a unconventional answer. Something that's a lot different now is that everyone is doing it, and then there's a double edge to that. So everyone is doing it, and some people are doing it very badly, and it doesn't matter, and some people are doing it very well, and it doesn't matter. So the best thing to do is to learn whatever style you want to use to get your point across. If it's for live, if it's for a podcast, if it's for just video, what do you call it? Video vlogs, or if it's for content creation, whatever style you're using, learn it. Even if it's like considered an unprofessional style, that style might become your style, and then someone in a film will try to recreate that because it's hard when it comes down to educating someone on how to do that. So
Can you give
finding
us
your
an example?
style is like everything right now.
Can you give us an example?
RDC World, I don't know if you guys they do the J. Cole, Jermaine, they do this. And they're a great example. These guys are Old Spice commercials. They write for anime. They do all kinds of stuff. But when they shoot their videos, they don't shoot them like a cinematic style. They shoot them in like their own style, and it's on purpose because they shoot certain, like every now and then they'll shoot something different. But in order for it to be funny, in order for it to be believable, it has to kind of have a certain style that they've stuck with. It's like South Park. When they first did South Park, they were like, what is this? And they were like, oh, well, it's kind of like paper. And they were like, why would you make a cartoon that's like paper? And they were like, well, it's just funnier that way. And then they did a test. They sent it to Comedy Central. They said, oh, that's cool. And they sent them, they did it with paper or something along those lines. Don't quote me on that. But then when Comedy Central cleared it, then they really did it. And they animated it to look like the paper they were using. So now when you see South Park, it's a unique style that they were using because it was funny and that's how they knew how to create. So when you create how you know how to create, it kind of is really more, making it more more artisanal.
It's a lot more betterer.
It's more better.
Seriously, I always say that to my students because quick little story. Before becoming a professor, I was a career advisor for the goodwill of Central Arizona. And I had a young man come into my career center one day, and very bright young man. But the word choice that he used was very interesting. He said, "I think I'm going to write a cover letter with my resume because that's a lot more betterer." And I never heard someone say this before. And
Yeah.
for as intelligent as he was, I knew that the word choice was just escaping him in that moment. But it was very interesting. Believe it or not, there is a character on the new hit YouTube show,
Could have
Could Have
been
Been
House.
Records,
Could have been
right,
House
by the comedian Drewski. And he's got a character who says
on
at
everything.
the end of every word. And as I was watching this the other day, the Chris Brown episode, oh man, I was laughing. I was laughing. I said, could have been House, could have been Records. Drewski, they got that idea from this guy at
Yeah.
the Career Center.
Yeah. That's
But
crazy.
that was hilarious.
That's
Man.
crazy.
So Greg, before you get out of here, man, we know you're busy. What is next for the world of digital cinematography and videography?
I'm telling you, man, I think I think that I personally think that it's gonna become more interactive, where it gives us a little bit more control over the viewership. Not only
Can you give
that,
us an example of what that would look like?
I think it's gonna become more interactive on the glass screen first. And then augmented reality is gonna take a step back. Like, we're gonna go into augmented reality and have a little bit more interactive videos there, and then it's gonna take a step back and implement some of those features into the glass. And then some of the things, then we're gonna go into what you can't do with the glass, into what you can do in the atmosphere. Then it becomes, but then you got to remember, the glasses is a thing where it's just like 3D. Like, do people want to use those to consume? And that's kind of where the glass is kind of, it's going to translate as much as it can into the glass. I think it's going to go to holographic screens where you can touch the screen. There's something called Project Leia, like Princess Leia in Star Wars, and they have these sound vibrations that go on the edge of the screen of the phone, and if you were to play ping pong, you could feel the little vibration of the ball when you tap it. So I think that's going to come out where the information is going to come out of the screen first, and then augmented reality is going to tap in when people are ready to use it, and then because you got to think, if you're making something video wise, live, film, or media consumption for social media, your viewership has to be seamless. Your accessibility to viewership is the number one thing. So you can't make something for glasses if only 1 million people out of 300 million in America have the glasses. So
Interesting.
why
I
would you
noticed
make
that.
something for that yet? But if they
Right. It's like
made
Facebook.
it's like, what? My bad.
It's like Facebook is realizing that Meta, the world wasn't ready for Meta the way they thought it was, and
Right.
then Apple has stopped production as of last week on
The Vision Pro.
the Vision Pro because
Yeah.
the demand just wasn't what they expected it to be. So the Meta goggles are like a couple $100. The Vision Pro is $3,500. So whether the barrier to entry is the issue in terms of money, it just seems like the world is not interested.
It's not
Now,
about
do
the
you
price
think that?
though. It's about, if they made it automatically come with the phone, when you buy the phone, you get that too, everybody would have it on the next run. Because say every 2 years they sell 50 million phones. Well, now 50 million households have it, so you can make your money back. This was something that somebody taught me at somebody came and spoke at Microsoft in my high school, and I never forgot this. He said the Xboxes cost, say you buy an Xbox for $250, they cost $500 to Microsoft, but it doesn't matter because they assume you're gonna buy 4 or 5 games at $50 a pop. So they're actually losing money on the hardware and making it back on the software. So I think that Apple and Meta and Facebook and some of these companies and need to find a way to where they can give you the hardware where they know that they have a return on investment on average per something else, that some subscription or something, that when you get this, okay, we're basically giving this tech at a low cost to hundreds of millions, and then we get it back off of microtransactions or whatever. And then once that's done, you can use the thing normally.
Interesting. Those are wonderful perspectives, man, and thank you for that. My last question is, where do you think the world is going when it comes on independent filmmakers? So us independent filmmakers, we right now are in a renaissance of independent American movies with platforms like, I'm just going to be honest, Tubi. Tubi is where most of my viewership happens.
Excuse me, Netflix or Tubi?
Netflix or Tubi. But for me, for myself, it's definitely Tubi.
Right.
And I'm excited, but Tubi could stop tomorrow. So is this zeal, this desire, this Tubi movies, it's in the zeitgeist now, whether it's on Tubi or Fox says, hey, we're not taking independent movies anymore, and another platform becomes popular, do you think independent movies are here to stay, or do you think we're just in this gold rush era of independent movies and it's not going to be like this forever?
No, I think independent movies, I think when you see Country Wayne, that's a little 3-minute independent movie. Because the truth of the matter is,
like social media shorts.
This is what I believe. That little 3-minute movie, if he did it for an hour, I don't think maybe the entire audience would watch, but I think a lot of people would still watch.
You're talking about Country Wayne putting all of his clips together into 90 minutes.
No. Just if he took that same clip, right? He took the same clip, but that same storyline or whatever was 90 minutes on his phone. I just think people will watch it equally. You know, I think like you see a lot of comedy specials and they're very, very, they're like movies, but it's not the same companies. Like these guys are doing it on their own. Like, I think that people, like I said before, they're going to learn. See, I think that it's actually going to be easier, as long as the money is there, for people to do the high-end productions. And the actual art and hard stuff is going to be the stuff, like the viral stuff. Like Jimmy Kimmel did remember when he did that viral video and he faked it when the girl fell off the table? Do you remember that? And he bet the studio that he could make people believe it was fake. That's artistic dialogue now. And that's gonna be harder to do than the high-end stuff long term. As that translates to films, like people doing films for Tubi and YouTube and stuff like that, I think that it's something that everybody who does it, they're going to learn so much that they're going to get so much better at it the second, third, fourth time that they're going to start having their own styles. And they're going to be that middle ground between, like A24 is a good example, where independent filmmakers is going to be that middle ground between Hollywood and indie. And it's going to be like, we make more money than indie. We look a little better than indie. And our audience is expecting something different than indie, but it's for stream. I think it's a new market. And it's going to have its own look. Nice. It's going to have its own tastemakers, and it's going to have its own kind of amount. You know what I mean? Where, you know how they would have, what would they say, 500,000 to 5 million is considered indie, or 15 million or something like that, or 1.5 million is considered indie, whatever it was. Then there's going to be some price range. There's going to be some viewership range.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's $10 million independent movies now. So I guess it's a revolving scale. Greg, I got to ask you, in terms of tech, do you think Blackmagic has positioned itself to be the go-to technology company for these entry-level and even medium budget level feature films?
Bro, let me tell you something. Blackmagic, I'm going to say this like this. You heard of the Steam Deck with the little images that come out?
Yeah, you
Like
were
with
one
like
of
the
the first people
keyboard.
to tell me about it.
Man, they use the Steam Deck for the NFL draft. They use the Steam Deck for, bruh, they use the Steam Deck. I seen somebody use a Steam Deck on it's like a $300,000 thing, piece of equipment. And then they attached the Steam
Yeah.
Deck to it to run it. The Steam Deck's like, they had like a
Greg,
$75 piece of equipment running at $300,000 for
I had the
video live.
opportunity.
Huh?
I had the opportunity to film the first gentleman, President Kamala Harris's husband,
Okay.
give a speech here in Arizona. Guess what I shot that with?
What? The Black Magic.
Blackmagic Pocket Cam.
Now the switchers are
This right
Black
here.
Magic. The media decks are Black Magic. The converters, the amplifiers for the video signals are Black Magic. And the only thing that they haven't see Black Magic, the film camera, the videographer, the film camera thing, they got it. What Black Magic has not tapped into yet, where they tapped into every part of broadcasting live except the camera. Except the camera. People do not use their cameras because they don't have lenses. I think that's what it is. Because you can't zoom. You cannot zoom. That is the one. If Blackmagic hears this, that is the one thing that they do not have that everybody else has. But Blackmagic is not just the future. That's what it's the standard. And when it comes to everything, like yeah, Blackmagic is known to be steel, aluminum. Is gonna function probably better than what you paid for. It's gonna do more than what you thought it could do at all times. It's like it's basically like you know how you used to get old cabinets, but they would last for 200 years, and then you go and get a new cabinet from IKEA, and it's like this is nice, but if you lean on it, you know it might lean back like Fat Joe.
Let's just imagine. Let's just imagine this is a Blackmagic studio camera, or that this is a Blackmagic Ursa. Why couldn't I just go and get a Fuji powered zoom lens,
No,
connect it,
it has to be able to speak to it. There's one Ursa that has the lens thing, and then there's a certain amount of lenses that are so there's like 3 pins, 6 pins, something like that, or 12 pin. There's certain pins that go into these zoom lenses and for live. And if you don't have compatibility, it won't work. And they probably have to pay for certain patents or whatever to use them. So there's a small amount that they're allowed to use with these cameras. You would have to kind of hack it. So they don't have, I don't know if it's they don't have the rights or if they just don't have accessibility to the zoom lenses for this. And then the cameras don't have all the, they're just not up to par with the live on the camera. But people are using the Blackmagic switcher for everything. My church uses it. NASCAR uses it. I mean, everybody uses. I mean, dude, freaking 85 South Show. I look at everybody's video setup on every set, bro. Everybody's got some. If they ain't got the Blackmagic switcher, where they got the Ross Carbonite or something like that, they got the Blackmagic decks.
The DC Young Fly 85 South.
Yeah, they got a Blackmagic switcher, like live, like the same one that the churches use.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and they use 2 Avid Pro. Now everybody's switching to these. They used to use any type of sound design. Everybody's using the Avid, like the Pro Tools has their own like board now.
Ableton?
No, Pro Tools, Avid Pro, Avid has has a board that people use now, and it's dope. And I don't know if they had one that was this sophisticated before. Obviously, right? You got Pro Tools, it's like Blackmagic. You got the editing tools, just like with Pro Tools. You got the editing tool, which a lot of the sound users and the biggest audio people use. But then that actual board that they made that uses some of the tech, but it's for live, with the sliders, it's pumping. And I think Blackmagic could get into that live space. They're in that live space on the switch and the deck and the signal part, but on the camera part, no. But on the film end, I think sky's the limit with them. I think they have one limit, and I need to say this publicly. They lack dynamic range. And that is something that I know they're trying to work around, but I don't want 18K. I want 18 stops of dynamic range in a 4K or a 2K, you know, because I can print it on, once I get this film done, I can go print it on paper, and then from there go get 25K of that film that I printed it. So I could shoot this, print it to film, and redigitize it. So give me the dynamic range. And I know they're not doing it. I know they're not doing that. And I know that's probably how they get the price point so low. But I personally would want that. Personally. Because I feel that that's harder to get. Ari goes off of that and not resolution.
Right, right.
And they're selling $200,000 cameras. So it's obviously expensive to do. Obviously, it's something to, it's obviously expensive for 2 more stops than 13 or 3 more stops than 13. It's obviously something where you want a sensor like that. It's a big deal financially. But I wish they would take an 18K sensor or a 12K sensor. Give me 4K HDR at 18 stops or something. 16 and a half, or whatever the max is. You know? Because I think the resolution gets to the point where it surpasses what our eyes can see anyway. And maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they've been saying that the human eye can only see in 4K. So anything past that is almost indifferentiable. That's not a word.
Indistinguishable.
Indistinguishable, thank you. So I think today 13 stops of dynamic range is great because of the post-production that we have. I mean, you were the one who taught me how to color grade using Apple Color back in 2008, man. And now all those tools are just built into DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, and all that. However, I understand what you're saying because the original Arri Alexa is 1080p, and people are still using that camera today because the dynamic range is so good.
It's like a photo camera. I mean, they take in that digital block, their sensor, and it's like a film. It's like a type. It's a type that, you know what I'm saying, like a stylized look that you're getting. Certain amount of grain, certain reflections of color, and it's just, and when you see it, you know, oh, and you can see the difference. You can see it, and it's psychological.
Nice. Greg, I don't want to take up any more of your time, man. Can you let the people know how to find you? You are a book of knowledge.
Oh, nah, you cannot find me. Squash Network or Squash on YouTube, Squash Network. There's another Squash Network, which is the actual, like, squash teams, but there's the one with the squash on it, and we do, like, reviews and stuff like that. If you type in maybe squash reviews, it'll come up.
Squash as in the vegetable?
Yeah, like the vegetable, yeah, squash. And that's my review site. On YouTube. That's my own little network where I do stuff. But yeah, we use Blackmagic cams for stuff, and man, Blackmagic is probably the most diverse
camera company on the planet.
On the planet. It's amazing.
Do you think they're gonna make a stills camera?
Huh?
You think they're gonna make a stills camera one day?
They already have them. We just gotta freeze the 18K we got right now. But yeah, they can easily. But that's the thing. It's just like the augmented reality and the glass. They could go forward or back. Yeah, they could add a photo button to their camera. Yeah. Blackmagic is the jam, man. I like how a lot of this stuff is versatile. You can use it for whatever you choose.
You know, at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to play the trailer to the Drake London video, Lay Back. Because back in 2014, we got hired by Drake London to produce that music video. And it was you, Greg, who said, we're going to shoot on this thing called the Blackmagic Pocket Cam. I said, what is a pocket cam? He said, oh, man, don't worry about it. It's got all this dynamic range. It's great. And when you showed up to set, you had this camera. It was this big. It was this big. And I was like, Greg, what is that? And when I saw the footage, I was like, I cannot believe that we were able to do this.
Yeah, you've been buying Blackmagic ever since.
Ever since. Yeah. Because of you, Greg. Because of you, man. So thank you for your input, man.
Yeah, they definitely made some things at a price point. Literally, they're based on the fact that you used to have to buy the software for color correction with a $250,000 to $300,000 color correction console, and it came together. And so what they did was they bought that company. I think that was DaVinci.
Mm-hmm.
Think Resolve was the company was DaVinci, and they bought the company. And when they bought the company, they released the software for free, whether you had a controller or not. They're based on community growth. And then they went and made cameras that go along with the software. They're literally
So,
made,
so it's
Blackmagic
just like
is
what
made
Microsoft
on
told
that.
you.
Huh?
It's just like what Microsoft told you. Get the hardware out there, and then the software, you'll get your money back. And Blackmagic
Hmm.
did the opposite. They got the software out there, and then got their money back on the hardware. I love
Yeah,
it.
because the software was so expensive, so hard to get
Right.
that when they gave the software away and people wanted the hardware with you could do it either way, but you need people that have some type of they need to form some type of habit along with the company that's healthy before they can get into the ecosystem. They have to have some type of habit going. Yeah.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for joining us today on this very, very, very impromptu uh, video. And always a pleasure talking to you, man.
Big dog, holla at your boy.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
All
Peace.
right.